Hey guys, what's up? It's Alex here. Welcome back to the next and final round of the Go-Kart Championship in 2017. The standings are all up for grabs here. First position is up for grabs between myself and Tom. Third position is up for grabs between my dad and John. It's going to be a close one, but first off, we have about 5 minutes of qualifying to start off with to set the fastest lap time to get pole position and the 5 extra points to go with it. So there are 5 of us out there today. 4 cameras, myself, John, Tom, my dad, and George is out there as well, but he doesn't have a camera on his helmet. So George, you remember from the one of the previous rounds at Buckmore Park, he's back once again, but this time at Filching Manor, so a bit of a learning experience around this track for him. So he won't expect to be on the pace straight away, but it'll be nice to see how he can develop over the race season. So we're going to look at everyone's on board as the qualifying session goes on, just to see how everyone's doing here, but myself and Tom have slightly gone up the road a little bit here, so we'll have a bit of an advantage over the first couple of laps. You can see we've sort of motored off the road a little bit, but my dad and John are quite close on track next to each other, and John's just checking around him just to make sure that my dad isn't going for an overtake here. So even though that it is qualifying, you've got to be aware of where everyone else is, because you don't want to get overtaken, you don't want to get in someone's way. You've got to try and make sure your lap is as good as possible, and obviously, you know, if you get sideways or whatever, you've got to be aware about other people's laps, and you could be impeding them, for example. But my dad has dropped back a little bit here. You can see he's dropped back a bit from John, and he's actually, I think, behind. I think he's actually behind George there. So my dad may be not having the best of starts there. So it doesn't really matter. It's only qualifying. He's given himself a bit of a gap, but now he is coming to catch up to George and try and get the overtake in here through what we say is the last corner. George is getting a little bit sideways through the penultimate couple of corners, but up to the start-finish line. He's going to have good top-end speed, but obviously he doesn't really know the racing lines as of yet, so my dad does manage to get through here. But it's probably going to be quite important for George. If he can follow my dad for a couple of corners, that might actually help him. It might mean that he can sort of follow his lines, get to know the track a little bit, so it might actually be some really, really important information for George if he can follow my dad for a good amount of this qualifying session. But my dad has been here before, of course, you guys know that, so he'll probably have decent enough pace here, we'll see. So across the start-finish line in a second now to start another lap here. My dad hopefully will get a good lap time in now with a bit of clean air. Tom is out front here. You can see he's heading on to another lap time as well, so he's actually got quite a big advantage here. So my dad and George, George spun it. So just after we went off board with my dad, George, who was quite close behind and trying to maybe keep up, has made a little bit of a spin there, but good for George. He kept it, kept his foot on the brake, kept it well, in the wrong direction, but you know what I mean. He didn't do anything silly. He didn't pull out in front of someone who was doing sort of flat out speed, so that was really important. That could have been a big crash, but luckily George, being the sensible person he is, makes sure that he keeps his foot on the brake and continues on once everyone has gone past him. So up around the first corner once again, Tom's putting in some pretty consistent lap times here. That last lap, of course, would have been slightly impaired with that accident at the first corner with George, but I don't think he'll matter too much about that. He's got plenty more laps to go forward. You can see I've left a bit of a gap here to Tom, enough that I can sort of see him in my in the foreground, but enough that I can sort of push and try and get my best lap time as well, because I thought I had pretty decent pace here today, so I was thinking I might be able to get a good pole position time in here, but we'll see as the qualifying session goes on. There's not much of the session remaining here, so fingers crossed we can put in a good enough lap time to put us on pole. But thing is, 5 minutes, we might like to make it quite intense, so just over 5 minutes, 5.5 minutes normally, you get, I don't know, what's that, 10, 11 laps in, so you get a decent amount of laps in, but of course a lot of those laps you'll be trying to overtake someone, you'll be making a mistake here and there, so a lot of the time you will have bad laps, and it means that you've really got to try and focus and nail down and get that 1 or 2 laps that gets you that good qualifying time. Now, on board my dad here, you haven't seen much of the onboard footage in this one, but there is a yellow flag out on track. Not sure who that's for. I think it's George at the bottom corner. Unfortunately for him, he's had a bit of a slide and somehow he's ended up on the grass on the inside there. So that's a bit unfortunate for George. I'm not going to lie, I've not seen someone spin there before, but it doesn't mean that it's not easy to do, let's be honest. I mean, most of us have, most of us in the championship have been around Filching Manor quite a bit, so for George, it's a bit of a new experience for him, so I think it's understandable that he would be making mistakes, and it's good that he's pushing the limit. He's trying to find the quickest area on the track, and hopefully by the end of the day he'll have some decent decent speed in him. So my dad's actually doing quite a good job here. He's really quite quick. He's catching up to John at quite a good rate here, but we'll see whether he goes for the overtake or not. So now on board with myself here, up to the start-finish line. This is going to be, I think, the last lap of qualifying here we're going on to, but I've actually caught up to Tom here. So you saw that 2 or 3 second gap that I had over Tom has diminished, and we're now trying to follow him. But if I did have any pace advantage, it's not going to really help me following him right up behind on this last lap here. But I was just going to try and put a bit of pressure on here, see the last couple of corners whether I could sort of force an overtake here. So even though it's qualifying, so I was going to try and go to the inside here. I was sort of practicing for the race where I could possibly get an overtake done, and up to the start finish line I back off there and Tom goes through. But interesting stuff. That's qualifying over and done with here. So what are the results like? So let's have a quick look. So I managed to get pole position and the 5 extra points to go with it, which secured my championship. So even before the race we were champion, which is good. Tom was second, my dad was third, 4th place was John, and 5th place was George. So now looking to the lights at the top of the screen, and away we go. We both get pretty equal starts, but in the second phase of the start Tom gets a better run and he cuts me off down to the first corner. He does leave a little bit of room into the first corner, but not really a Kart's width, so I can't really go for it here into the first corner, and that is all done. So I'm down to P2. Tom is into the lead of this race here, and my dad still sticks in 3rd, John is 4th, and George is in 5th place here. So on board myself, you can see that gap to Tom is right there straight away, but you can see Tom looking one way to the next. He's not sure where I am, and I'm going down the inside here. He didn't get the greatest run at that last corner, but I get a bit sideways through the first turn, unfortunately, and Tom goes straight back through once again. I got a bit sideways on the slightly cold tyres, meaning I couldn't get the car stuck into the corner, and it sent me a bit sideways, and unfortunately for me that lost me the lead of the race once again. So we're going to be following Tom here for the next foreseeable corners here. Hopefully we can get an overtake in soon, because I know it's actually quite close. Now we've battled with each other on the first lap of the race here. It's actually quite close behind us. My dad and also John are really quite close behind us, so we'll see when we switch to my dad's camera view in a second here. It's actually really close for P2, P3, P4, and up to the top hairpin as we go on board my dad any second. Now you can see how close it is. My dad's right up behind me as we saw a yellow flag out just ahead of us here, but it's really, really close. My dad's putting the pressure on, and I knew that my dad was quick today. He had a really good qualifying time as well. It was only a couple of tenths of Tom, so it was interesting to see. I don't know whether my dad was going to be able to keep up this for the whole race, but once we've gone through the yellow flag zone, I got a really good run. Tom going defensive here up through the first corner and up to the top hairpin here. I've got a good run, but I'm not going defensive. My dad, is my dad going to look down the inside? No, he's decided not to. He's decided to follow my line, but I get a bit sideways in the middle of the corner. My dad doesn't quite manage to go, and he had to back out of the throttle a little bit there to make sure he didn't hit the back of me and lose even more time here. But a good job from my dad so far. He's done a really good job in the opening couple of laps of this race. Tom's taken a quite tight line through that penultimate corner, is what we don't know. Do we call it the last corner, penultimate corner? I don't know, but nonetheless, but that's lost a couple of tenths of a second here, probably up to about a second here through the sort of that lap there. I don't know whether that sort of incident at the top hairpin we had to get out of the throttle did sort of negatively affect him there, but it's the way it goes. Now, as we go down the carousel here, it's really close. John only a couple of tenths back from my dad as well, so it's really close for the top 4. So let's go on board with John here, who's doing a really good job. He didn't have the greatest of starts in the world there, John, but he's now putting the pressure on my dad. Can he get this overtake in? I do also apologise for this camera. For some reason it loves to fog up. I have no idea why. It just, for some reason, every time this camera is used it fogs up, and it's just really frustrating, of course, because obviously it's a good camera, it's good quality, but for some reason I guess it gets really hot, and inside the casing it just starts to fog up, which is not too good. But my dad's had a bit of a slide there. John's looking down the inside and he's got the overtake in. That is not a very typical place to go for an overtake, but great stuff there from John, and he's got the overtake in. That is a fair play, really good overtake there from John. Now I go on board my dad here, and John's got sideways, so my dad's going to look down the inside here up to the top hairpin. It's looking really close. John's going defensive. He's taken the inside line, so my dad goes to the outside line. Can he go all the way around the outside? That's a pretty awesome move. He's done it. Yes, he has. Great stuff there. My dad going all the way around the outside of John and putting himself up into P3. John possibly go a bit early on the brakes, trying to be defensive on the inside line. My dad obviously had to go to the outside line because John took the inside line, and I think that's a pretty good move. Now John's down the inside here once again. My dad gets pushed onto the marbles on the outside, and John's back through. This is a fantastic battle between the two of them here, up to the top hairpin, as myself and Tom still squabble it out here. And I think I might have actually got back past Tom here, so it's all squabbles out front here, but we're focusing on a really good battle here between my dad and John, as I think I might have got out front right now, but we'll see when we switch back. It was back and forward between myself and Tom throughout this whole race here, but this is a really good battle we're staying on board with right now. So up to the start finish line once again to start a brand new lap here, up to the top hairpin once again. John and my dad's just so similarly paced up to the top hairpin in terms of top end speed. They're just so close. And my dad's taking the outside line to trying to get the overtake done, and he can't quite see one there, and he's backed out of that one. But right up behind John here once again, is he going to be able to get this overtake done? It's going to be very close, slightly wide there from my dad over the very bumpy bit on the outside there. So once again, up to the top hairpin, well not sorry, up to the top hairpin, through turn 1 really first, then up to the top hairpin. Is my dad going to be able to look for an overtake this time? He's putting the pressure on, but for now it's not going to be the case, and John is still going to just be able to hold on to P3. He's doing a good job with the defensive line up to the top hairpin. My dad's close, but not quite close enough to get the overtake in. So you can see I have taken the lead here from Tom, and I had started to build up a bit of a gap. But unfortunately, I had caught George at a really bad point, and down the straight, George is pretty quick. So down in the straight line here, you can see Tom's got a really good run on both of us here, and I thought I got a nice move on the outside, but George leaves his braking a little bit late. Oh, that's a bit unlucky for me here, but there are no blue flags in karting, so I can't really complain too much. It's just the way it is. But yeah, it means now I've got to try and overtake Tom once again. But that's great stuff from George there, just to get involved with it. Really, he needs to have those sort of battles to get involved with the karting, and sometimes it isn't fun just going around by yourself. So in one way, I was slightly disappointed. Obviously, I lost the lead the race through battling George there, but at the same time, I was just happy that he was involved with the battle, and I was happy for him. I was really happy for him. So a little bit on board with my dad. He can't quite get past John here, but I go back on board with myself. And it's just very close here for the lead of this race. So intense here. And I'm going to try and look for an over and under move here. Tom gets a bit sideways out of the last corner, and I go one way then the next to trying to get past Tom, and I've got it. Move done down the inside and up ahead of Tom. So now I have gone defensive on the inside line, side by side between us. Tom's still got a bit of a pace advantage down the straights. He takes the wide line, of course, to get the better line through the corner, but I am down the inside. I've got the defensive move here. I've sort of blocked off the line, which is good, and I've taken the lead back, which was like, this was some very intense racing here. So awesome to have such a close race between us here. So now down across the start finish line once again, I've started to gain a couple of tenths of a second as we motor across the start finish line up to the top hairpin. I've pulled out a pretty decent lead here, and I think I knew it, so I took a wide line here. And Tom looking down the inside, no, there's going to be a crash. Yes, there's a crash, and Tom made slight contact there, and it did actually hurt a little bit there. I did a bit of a bruise, and yeah, sort of, you can see it took a bit of time for me to refocus there. And I did get back going in the right direction once again, and Tom spins it around as well. But this has really closed it up here, because now it's all come down the gap. John is now right up behind Tom, and I think my dad has dropped back a little bit, but it's really now intense of the next couple of laps. Can Tom close down the gap? Will John be involved in the battle as well? It's going to be interesting. So at this point, what was going through my head is obviously a bit frustrated that I was taken out, but at the same time, I was like, Tom didn't mean it, so I was like, I'm going to give him back the position here, because he didn't really need to give me back the position. It was just a racing accident. So I think we were a bit like, yeah, you go sort of thing, and now John's actually in the lead this race. So out of nothing, John is now leading this race here. So just through keeping it consistent and keeping on the track, John has done a good job. But now it puts the pressure on myself and Tom to close him back down here. But I did want to have a battle with Tom now. I know he didn't mean to go for that crash. I know he didn't mean to cause an accident there. So it was what it was. And obviously, I felt like it was a nice gesture for him to let me go in front. But I sort of felt at the same time he should go back in front. I don't know. You think different things at the racing time, but I sort of already wrapped up the championship, so I wasn't really too fussed. But I just wanted a good race in the last couple of laps. I mean, I could have taken the victory, I suppose. I probably should have. Let's be honest. Maybe the inner racing driver should have come within me, and I should have gone and taken that victory. But now John is leading this race with a couple of laps to go. This is really intense for John now. He needs to go super defensive. He knows that Tom and I are pretty quick in a straight line up to the top hairpin. It's nearly 3 wide up to the top hairpin. John and Tom going so close here up to the top hairpin and through down the carousel. It is so close between the 3 of us here for the lead of this race. Is John going to be able to hold on for one of his first proper victories? He has got a victory, but that was in a weird time-affected race where we did, well, I don't know, let's not get into that. It was a weird race, and he managed to get the victory in that one, as well as an endurance race win, I think, as well. But up to the top hairpin, he's not really defending. He's left the gap, and Tom just being so decisive there with the overtake down the inside. What a fantastic move here right at the end of this race, and Tom definitely deserved it after that overtake there. John, maybe slightly napping there, caught like napping up at the top hairpin. He definitely could have, probably could have closed that off there. But up to the start-finish line, and we've got one more lap, I'm pretty sure, here as we go down the back straight up to the hairpin once again. John is going defensive here. I'm trying to get down the inside. You see my car coming down the inside there. John slightly pushed me on the grass there, but it's last lap. I can see he was defending. Maybe I was being a bit aggressive. I saw Tom do a similar move on the last lap, so maybe John was going more defensive. I was going attacking as well, so it is what it is. But as we round the last couple of corners here, Tom's going to win round 1 in the season finale. John is going to finish P2, which is a great result for him. I'm going to finish P3 and wrapping up the championship after qualifying it. It didn't mean too much to the race, but of course maybe I should have gone for that victory after Tom let me through. But well done, John. He definitely deserved those points as well. He had a good season, and well done, Tom, of course, battling back and getting the victory. So there we go. So Tom with the race victory, John in second, I was third. My dad finished 4th after, I think, a spin that we didn't quite catch, and George finished 5th, but did a good job. He started to improve his time, which you can definitely be happy about. So now, time for the last race of the season, reverse grid with George starting on pole position. This could be an interesting one. Fingers crossed that it is a good race. So we're going to be looking to the lines in a second here. George is going to be slightly nervous starting on pole position, and only his 4th go-kart race. Up to the lights, and away we go. Good start from George. Good start from my dad as well. Up to the first corner. Who's going to lead it into turn 1? It looks like George is going to keep it. Is he? Tom's looking down the inside. George has squirted the throttle a little bit, though. It's a bit of contact. And oh, my dad gets involved in a bit of contact there with George. And George did say sorry for that. He slightly turned my dad sideways. And there we go. It is what it is. But my dad's dropped down to last place after nearly looking for the lead at turn 1. He's going to be a little bit gutted with that. But now he's going to try and get the overtake done on George here with slightly wet tyres. And George has had slightly wet tyres, so there's a bit more contact there between the 2 of them. And hopefully that's the last bit of contact between the 2 of them in this race. Now on board with John, up to the top hairpin. Tom has brought out a bit of a lead now. It's about a second and about another second and a half back to John in 3rd place. So still quite close between the top 3 here in this last race of the season. But of course, the championship's all finished, but there is still a bit of a battle going on for P3 in the championship. John and my dad very close in terms of points. So these last couple of races really are important. And John obviously getting the 2nd place in that last race was pretty important for him for getting a good result in the championship. Now it's all yellow flag. It might be another spin for George at the top hairpin, but we'll see. But John pretty close still. Tom still leading, but yeah, that battle for 3rd place in the championship is going to be pretty close between my dad and John. Obviously, John having a bit of an advantage. That's pretty much down to this last race of the season. Who is going to finish ahead out of those 2 could determine who finishes 3rd place in the championship, which of course is not what you aim for when you start the season, but that's still a very good reward for a long season's effort. So up to the top hairpin once again. Tom doing a fantastic job at holding off me, and I'm trying to put the pressure on. Tom's obviously taking the defensive lines. He knows that I'm there. It's just whether I can keep the focus in this race. I really wanted to win the last race of the season after obviously that last race where, in hindsight, I probably should have just motored on and taken that victory after Tom let me through. It is what it is, but I really wanted to win the last race of the season. That's what I really wanted to do. And Tom obviously knew I was there, so going a bit defensive out to the top hairpin. He's left a bit of room. A slight weave there up to the top hairpin through the first of the tight corners here on this track, and he's done a good job to hold it in the right direction for now. And through the carousel, he's still holding the lead. Good job from Tom here. He's very confident. You can see with the kart now. It's quite crazy, obviously, the story with Tom. He's only been the champion about 2.5 years. I think it was 2015, halfway through the season, is when Tom started to come in. He was just about old enough to start racing. And it's been a pretty good story for him. He's had a lot of victories, and obviously him and I have had a really good battle throughout. Ooh. Understeering a bit wide there. I don't know, there's a bit of loss of grip in the kart. Couldn't quite manage to stick it through the corner, but nonetheless, it's a pretty intense finale here. Fingers crossed I can win it. Tom's going to have his fingers crossed that he can win it as well. And John, not too far behind as well, is going to be hoping that maybe a couple of things go on between myself and Tom once again, and he could maybe pick up the spoils and win the last race of the season. I think he might enjoy that. So we're getting nearer and nearer to the halfway point in this race. There's about 20 laps in this one as normal. So be interesting to see who can come out on top here in the final race of the season. Of course, going into the winter series, it's obviously nice to have a bit of confidence in the back of you, knowing that you had the last couple of race victories. Tom getting a little bit sideways through here, but he's very composed through there. But I do get a good run. I'm down the inside. I'm into the lead of this race. Tom left a little bit of room. We saw the slide mid-corner. Is it going to be enough up to the top corner? No, Tom's got enough speed around the outside to go past. So unfortunately for me, I couldn't keep that overtake, which was a little bit gutting considering I had to move down the inside. But obviously not fast enough through the first corner there to keep it sticked. But nonetheless, we're right on the back of Tom once again. And are we coming up to a bit of traffic? I thought I saw a little bit of traffic. I'm not sure if there is. Yeah, there's George just up the road, I think, there. So this is going to be interesting. Who's going to manoeuvre the traffic the best? We'll see. George is not too far away now, probably about a lap away. Up to the top hairpin, we're going to be on the brakes late. Tom defends the inside line. I take the wide line to try and get the better line through the corner. But no, we might catch George in actually a bit of an awkward place here. Through the fast left-hander, probably just after this. So he might actually get him just in the last straight, which would be good. George runs a tad wide there. That's not going to be the nice and the cleanest road through there. But Tom puts a nice move down the inside. I'm going to look there as well. George getting into the slipstream, looking one way then the next. I'm going to go all the way around the outside of George. Yes, I am. I don't know that George knew I was coming around the outside there, but luckily I placed the car just about right. And I defended the inside line last time because I just didn't want George to go down the inside, even though he was a lap down and he wasn't that slow. So I thought he might look for a move down the inside because obviously he's up to getting an overtake if he can get one in. So now really close to the back of Tom here, right up behind. He gets a bit sideways. I get a bit sideways on exit. Which way is he going? Tom's going to slightly swipe the inside wall there. That could have been a close one. Up to the top hairpin now. We're over halfway through this race now. Up to the top hairpin on the brakes once again. I take a slightly different line through there that time, which actually quite worked out for me. But now we're going to go back on board with my dad, who's trying to close down John here. It's quite a close battle here for P3 in the race. And of course we know P3 in the championship is very, very close as well. So it's a big battle between these two. Who can get the points for third place? Maybe more if drama goes on out front. And, ooh, George has spun it into the wall. That was a bit of a tough one from there. That looked a bit painful actually. But luckily the marshals are coming in. John's just randomly slowed up here. I think for some reason he thought the yellow flags were out. But they weren't. The yellow flags weren't out there. But I think John, a bit of miscommunication with the marshals there. He wondered what happened there. But he's going to try and get the overtake done. My dad slides out a little bit. John's going to put the pressure on once again, try and get the overtake back done here. John's got a nice line through here. He's going to try and get past here. There's no yellow flags out anymore, so it looks like George has been recovered back onto the track. An unfortunate fin for him, but I guess he won't matter too much. He's just trying to get some lap times in here, and he actually did get some pretty good lap times in the end of this race. So up across the start-finish line once again to start another lap. Up to the top hairpin. Is John going to look down the inside? On the brakes, it's going to be quite late if he does. No, he's decided to back out of this one. So my dad runs wide once again. He's struggling with that top hairpin. John, you look to the inside. Yes, he's had a really good run through there, John, and that's not a very conventional overtaking place. But John, with a fantastic move there down the inside, turned onto the outside, and actually a very good overtake there from John. I think he realised third place in the championship was up for grabs with that overtake right there. He did a good job at getting that manoeuvre done. So John up to P3 in this race and probably securing P3 in the championship if the results stay as they are. He's defending the inside line. I see my dad now as turning to the attacker. He's taking the different lines as well. And I'm trying to be the attacker, trying to get past Tom one way, then the next. I'm trying to defend here. And I've gone down the inside once again. It's side by side. I had to get out the throttle a little bit there. I don't think Tom realised I was coming down the inside, that was my best opportunity yet, I think, to actually maybe make the move stick. But nonetheless, we have to stick around behind him once again. I was putting as much pressure as I physically could on Tom to get past there. I did feel I had a slight pace advantage here today. In qualifying, I was about half a second clear. So in the race, of course, Tom always gets quicker, and sometimes I don't get quicker. Sometimes in qualifying, it's my best lap times, to be perfectly honest. So that's something to work on for 2018. Up to the top hairpin, into the slipstream of Tom. Are we going to look one way? Tom defends the inside line once he sees on there, and they're trying to go on the outside here. I knew, you know, you can sort of tell that there's not that many laps remaining, but the way that the marshals are moving, all that sort of stuff, you can see what they're looking over at the tower, waiting for how many minutes are left, that sort of stuff. You can sort of tell, so I was sort of realising at this point we're getting pretty close to the end of this race here. So on board with John now, he's closing up to the back of George. This could be quite decisive for third place in this race and third place in the championship, because if John can't get past George quickly, then my dad might be able to capitalise on a move there and get past. But my dad's been sort of shadowing John for a lot this race. I don't know whether he's going to be able to get past him. This is going to be quite big for the championship if he can secure this third place here today. John defending the inside line. And you can see he still left a bit of room on the inside, but then he wanted to make sure he didn't take such a tight line through the corner that it was just very, very slow. So I think a pretty good defensive line there from John. Enough that he could get through the corner correctly, but not too much that, yeah, he basically just took a terrible line through the corner. And old George, very, very sideways out there in fifth position right now. He's losing a little bit around these corners. I think George is quick. It's a bit inconsistent so far in this go-kart session. George defending the inside line. I don't think he realised that John and my dad were quite close behind him here. So I think I saw about this sort of time right now. This is about a minute to go, which is normally 2 laps. So now I'm putting the pressure on Tom. This is the most pressure I've been able to put on Tom the whole race here. Right up behind him. This is the closest I've been one way than the next. Tom defends the inside line. And I can't quite get past there. This is intense stuff. I take a slightly better line through the corner, meaning I have a better run. But it doesn't quite work out, unfortunately. But that's really putting the pressure here on John and on George. And he's lost it. Oh, that's so gutting. That was so close to P3. My dad just, you know, he went one way than the next to try and get past John, try and sort of judge the manoeuvre, but it didn't quite work out for him, and unfortunately he spun it around here, and you can see here he is on our screen right now, so he's just letting us through here after he spun. I'm putting the pressure on last lap of the race. I was pretty sure in my head that this was going to be the last lap of the race. I was like, this is going to be it. This is going to be the last opportunity to try and overtake here. So I'm going to take a wide line here through this corner and try and get the switch back. I got a switch back, but it wasn't quite good enough. Tom managed to cut in front there and up to the start-finish line. Tom is going to win the last race of the season. He's got both race wins in this round, so congratulations to him. I can see I was a bit gutted. You can always tell when I'm a bit gutted because I look up to the sky. I'm like, is sort of what I'm thinking, but it is what it is. Congratulations, Tom. That was a good race there. Fun stuff. I'm happy to have these sort of races in this season so far. So that's how race 2 looked. Tom won, I was second, John was third. My dad, after that spin, finished in 4th place, and George finished in 5th. So after all that, let's have a look at the championship standings. So I won the season this year by, you know, just under 20 points there. 27 points gained today, 30 points gained for Tom. So I got a nice little boost from pole position there, so that was pretty good for me. Tom getting the double win to round up the season shows himself up there. Pretty good points from him over the season. Both of us did every single round, so it was pretty, you know, representational of how the performance was this season. Just very, very close. John on 1-2-4 after missing 1 round, I'm pretty sure. My dad on 1-1-9 after missing 2 rounds, I think. So pretty close between those 2 guys for P3 in the championship. Will, after only doing a limited campaign this time, finishes on 83.5 points. James on 36. Tom on 36 as well. George managed to get 27 points over his endeavours this time, which is great to him. Nice improvement as well. He was actually only within about 2 seconds of my dad and John's time by the end of this race, so I think he'd be very proud of that. Then the other part of the standings, the lower half of the standings, Luke, Will's dad, Josh, Archie, Connor, Paul, Jake and Gurdeep were the last point scorers. None of them took part in the final round here. Just a thank you to everyone that took part in the championship. Really, really enjoyed it this year. Probably the most fun I had, especially having such a close battle with Tom. Really made it enjoyable for me as well. So that's pretty much it, guys. Thank you for watching this whole series, or hopefully you did, you know, enjoy it. Hopefully you appreciated it. It does take quite a lot of time to edit, but yeah, hopefully you enjoyed it. So thanks for watching, guys. Please leave a like on the video if you did enjoy it and you made it to the end. I think it was a pretty good episode there, some close racing throughout. So thanks for watching, have a great winter. We'll see you soon for more go-karting. I don't know when, but I'm sure soon. Goodbye.